Welcome, as always, to Zoom In, wherever you may be in the world. It's great to have you with us. I'm David Matlin, coming to you from Tel Aviv. Let's get started. Now begin today. Israel is welcoming Reza Pahlavi. It's the son of the deposed Iranian monarch, the Shah, who was ousted in the Islamic Revolution in 1979. Now, in a statement prior to his visit here, Pahlavi has said the trip is intended to show solidarity and will also focus on Israeli water technology and Holocaust commemoration, perhaps most importantly, which begins tonight in Israel, the eve of Israeli Holocaust Memorial Day. Now, it may feel like the distant past today, with displays just this last week of burning Israeli flags in Iranian cities on their annual Jerusalem Day. But it's important to remind us all that Israel and Iran maintained close ties between the people for a long time, particularly on energy and security during the reign of the Shah. So we're joined now to get more into the subject matter. First in the studio here by Tom Gross, a Middle East expert and connections to the issue here. Tom, thanks for being with us on the story. There's a lot of ways to, I think, look at this visit or analyze it or even leave it as a side story, but we feel there's some real central importance to him coming here today. Look, you've known the Shah's widow, you've met with her, the Pahlavi's mother here. Given your sense of their symbolic role, because I think that's just what it comes down to at this point. Do they serve, what kind of symbolic bridge do they serve for sort of the exiled people of Iran, the people inside Iran to Israel? Where's the symbolism in him coming here today?
Well, normally, I don't think that symbolism is that significant in international relations or politics, but I think in this case it is. Not because he isn't particularly important in the Iranian opposition movement, there are other more important people, but as a symbol, given the fact that the Islamic regime in Iran has made not just anti-Zionism and calls for the destruction of Israel a cornerstone of its foreign policy, but at various times it's also made anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial a cornerstone of its policy. The former president Ahmadinejad regularly distorted or outright denied the Holocaust. They still have, the present government, an annual Holocaust cartoon competition, which is very, very hurtful, that distorts and makes mimics and casts doubt on Holocaust survivors. So for the Shah's son, a kind of symbolic figure of the Iranian people, to come to Yad Vashem this evening on Yom HaShoah, Israel's annual Holocaust Remembrance Day, is very, very symbolic. And I think, I actually spoke to some Iranian friends of mine this morning. My roommate in college in Oxford in England was actually had left Iran as a child in 1979 in the revolution. And I have many Iranian friends, and they feel deeply ashamed by the regime's Holocaust denial. They think the Persians are rich, great people, and they are better than that. And I spoke to some of these people this morning already, and they're very happy that the Shah's son is coming. So I do think it's significant, actually, yes.
Well, we're grateful to have him. Look, I want to introduce another guest who's joining us in this block here. We're joined by 24 News diplomatic correspondent from Paris, Christian Malard. Thanks for being with us, Christian. Important to have you with us. I know that you the son of the Shah here, Pahlavi. Look, he claims that millions of Iranians reject what he terms the regime's genocidal, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic policies. He's expressed hope, for the eventual restoration of diplomatic ties. How do you describe, whether his views reflect the reality among Iranians, as he claims, whether inside the country or around the world? What figure does he represent?
It's the fact that he is in Israel today is a political coup. It's a way of sending a message to next neighbor, the Ayatollah, which has been in power for the last 44 years. And it's a way to say, Israel understands the situation. My father, late Shah, had the very best relationship with Israel at the time. And it's a way of trying to push the Biden administration, which has been so gullible to think they could negotiate with a barbaric regime of the Ayatollah. So I think I have been talking to Reza recently before he went to Munich for the conference. We had an interview for I-24 News, and definitely he's getting what I call, it's a French expression, he's getting out of the wood. He wants to move things. He knows that in the 31 provinces in Iran, the people are expecting him to move and change things. The funny thing is they call for him. They mentioned the name of the grandfather, Reza Shah, which has been the founder of the Pahlavi dynasty, but they never mention his father, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, which seems to have been forgotten by most of the Iranians. But they want Reza, definitely. He has nothing to do with the Mujahideen, which were the collaborator to Saddam Hussein and all that. He is Reza Pahlavi, and he wants, definitely, he is obsessed by that. He wants the separation of the religion and politics, the religion and the state. He wants a secular regime, and he said he could fine for that if the Iranians want him to do that.
Thanks. Stay with us, Cristiano. Come back to Tom in the studio here. Look, I mean, the Shah himself, obviously, despite his Western leanings and government very resembling nothing like the one in Iran today, he had a bit of a checkered record there. Not all beloved. Has his son carried some of that burden? Is there an element of that where, like, he's not looked at? He's talking about restoring, democracy in Iran. Is he the figure? Not quite for that, but
no. It's very unlikely he'll come back to power. Although I have to point out his mother, who I know, as you mentioned, is still very well respected in Iranian opposition circles. But nevertheless, he's an important figurehead, and I don't think he expects to return to power. But he can still play a role when, as I hope, eventually there's a counter-revolution, and maybe he'll be on some kind of interim governmental committee or something as a different opposition figures. So I don't think anyone thinks he is leading the political oppositional role. But because, as I said, the regime has done so much, they shout death to Israel almost every week, and it is a cornerstone of their foreign policy, and they have killed Israeli civilians in Argentina, in Bulgaria. They've made attacks in Nigeria, in Thailand, all over the world, and they even this last week they essentially directed 35 rockets from South Lebanon into Israel. It is very, very symbolic, and he is as big a figurehead as you might have, even though I don't think anyone thinks he's going to be a head of state in future should the regime fall.
Cristiano, coming back to you here. I mean, he's, Reza's coming to the country now. He's going to meet with the prime minister. He's meeting with all sorts of top officials in Israel. What does he represent to the Israeli side now in terms of an opportunity, to build bigger bridges, to, I don't know, make some inroads with diplomatic avenues? What kind of opportunity is this for Israel?
I think the government, the opposition in Israel, have understood that is the only alternative. Yeah. Whatever may happen is the only alternative to this Ayatollah regime, this barbaric regime in Tehran. If the Western world doesn't understand that he is the key to the future of Iran, a democratic future, they have not understood anything, and it will be a big misunderstanding. I don't mean that he is perfect, whatever, but I think he represents an aspiration for most of the Iranians who are so fed up, and Tom knows that, so fed up with this regime, tortures, killing people, hanging people, the scarf story with Marsha Amini and all that. So the Western world must understand they have to be all together with Reza Pahlavi. Israel understand that for a long time. But once more, I reiterate what I've said. I am not so sure the Biden administration understood that, because they have been trying to negotiate with this regime, and they have been making a fool of them. They have been fooled by this regime. So we have an opportunity, take it or don't take it. Is it?
Cristiano Malard, thanks for being with us on this. Tom, just to cap up, less than a minute we have left. Is this a visit that's being sort of smeared in Iran right now, in Iranian media, yet championed somewhat by the opposition media? How's it?
Well, I don't know that the official media has mentioned it yet, okay. But the opposition media, which has millions upon millions of followers on TV and radio and social media, they have been covering it this morning. In fact, I was interviewed myself on one of them. So they are excited. Look, they're very well disposed to Israel. A lot of the opposition, one of their slogans is, not Gaza, not Lebanon, we are for the people of Iran. Wow. In other words, stop wasting our time and money with Hamas and Hezbollah. So de facto, Israel becomes an ally because one's enemy's enemy is one's enemy.
A lot of reasons there.
And also one other thing, as another non-Arab power in the Middle East, you have Israel, Iran, and Turkey. There's a kind of slight bonding. Persia is an ancient.
Goes back to the historical times.
Yeah, historical.
Tom Gross, Cristiano Malard, of course, thanks for being with us here, giving some insight to the visit of the son of the Shah of Iran. We'll be right back with more.